What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So I want to talk about the situation that Democrats have now put themselves in. And this is very important to understand because Democrats are now running out of time. Here's what's happening right now. And again, all these new reports that are coming out, all these new updates, the issues with inflation, the recession that we could potentially be in the middle of right now, the shooting that happened yesterday and the shootings that have happened in the past, all these things are being put on our lawmakers. Everybody's saying that our entire economy is struggling, that the Biden administration is not focused, and things are turning into major issues when they shouldn't. What we are hearing is that our leaders are not leading, and that is causing a lot of issues. Now, here's another issue. Congress has a lot on their plate. First, they were tasked with passing $40 billion for Ukraine. They did that. Now, with surging COVID cases, especially in California, Congress says that now is the time to get the $10 billion passed to help fight COVID. However, lawmakers are still dragging their feet. They're dragging their heels to try to get this deal done. Now, what we know is that there have been talks on climate funding, on climate change, lowering the cost of prescription medication, and also raising taxes. But again, lawmakers are dragging their feet. They are going so slow with all this stuff. It's causing the American people to question whether they want to get anything done. And now, due to the shooting in Uvalde, Texas, lawmakers are discussing what they can do about gun control and whether there's enough support in Congress to pass some type of gun reform or gun legislation. As of right now, there are multiple bills that Congress has passed, okay? Or multiple bills that have been passed from Democrats, So there's one that's a bipartisan bill, but most of these are coming from Democrats. Now, these bills include the Enhanced Background Checks Act of 2021, the Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2021, Jamie's Law, which would actually prohibit certain people from purchasing ammo. Okay, this is different than purchasing weapons or guns. There's also the Red Flag Law, which bars people from purchasing or possessing a firearm as a result of them being a risk to themselves or to others. And then the last one, the Protecting Communities and Preserving the Second Amendment Act of 2021. This is from Republicans. Now, what you need to understand is that there's a whole list of bills here. But the key with all these is there's not enough support. Now, gun control and Americans' rights. This is going to be the priority moving forward, and this makes sense. This happens anytime we see a major shooting like we saw the other day. But here's what you need to keep in mind. Democrats, at this time, they don't have the luxury. They do not have the luxury of time. They need to get the bills passed as soon as possible. They cannot wait until after the midterm elections. Honestly, experts are now predicting that the Biden administration is going to get pummeled this year due to the issues that we are currently facing. And if this happens, Democrats likely won't have the majority in the House or the Senate. So passing a bill after the midterm elections is seen as highly unlikely. Now, I want to talk about stimulus because here's what we know. Democrats now understand that their timing is, limited. That it's coming to an end. I'm not trying to bash Democrats here, but what I'm trying to really get people to understand is if Democrats want to even have a shot at remaining in control and majority of the House and the Senate, the only option is to pass more bills, to do what the American people want. The American people want help. The American people do not want to turn on the TV every night. Hey, turn on, YouTube, their TV, open up their phone and see breaking news. Another shooting, breaking news, another virus, breaking news, a war. That's not what the American people want. But what the American people want is more help. Some of the help that's currently being discussed And again, there's enough support in the Senate to get something passed for climate change, prescription drug reform, and taxing wealthier Americans to help pay for those bills. There's enough support there. The problem is nobody's really wanting to push this because they're worried about what's going to happen if there's not enough support, or what's going to happen if the American people see what is actually in these bills. Nobody wants to write them. Nobody wants to support them and co-sponsor them. And that's turning into a major issue. But the stimulus that we were talking about, again, climate change, there's a lot that could help us. Prescription drug costs, again, a lot of people are struggling because they cannot afford their current prescriptions because they're so expensive. They cannot afford to buy food and gas and pay their rent because things are so expensive. So let's bring down the costs, because we know some of these medications are not costing the manufacturer that much. Another one, student debt forgiveness. This is something that President Biden said he'd have an answer on within a few weeks. Well, a few weeks was last week. We still haven't got an answer. Some say that we could potentially have an answer by this Saturday. Well, we will see. And then the last piece of stimulus that we could potentially see, and the reason I want to bring this up is because what we have seen and what we've heard over the past 6 months to the past year is the child tax credit payments didn't actually cost that much more money. And in addition to that, more people paid their tax, or more people filed taxes. That's a good thing. And in addition to that, what's now being said is we need to provide more for children. That kind of came out over the past day. Why is that? Why do we need to pass more for children? Do we need to make sure children are fed? Do we need to make sure children are clothed? Do we need to make sure children are safe? Yeah, that's what we're hearing. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens, because what we have seen over the past, really since like 2013, and the reason I say 2013, I think this was the last time there was any major changes from the Supreme Court as far as gun laws and gun control. I believe it's 2013 because 2012 was just after the Sandy Hook elementary shooting. Okay, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because right now what we know is Congress is completely in disarray. Nobody's talking to one another. Nobody's working together as one to make sure the American people get what they need. Make sure the American people are safe. We saw Congress work together when COVID hit us here in the U.S. back in March of 2020. But what about guns? What about people that are not mentally there? They're not mentally stable. What about all those people? But what we know and what we are hearing right now is Democrats now understand their time is limited. They have to do something, and they need to do it almost immediately. Remember, some were saying that the stimulus bill had to be passed before Memorial Day. Well, that's on Monday. So that is actually in 5 days. It's not going to be passed. The next deadline is July 4th. That is in 5 weeks. Okay? 5 weeks. We got 5.5 weeks to get this done, get this passed before July 4th. Do I think that's going to happen? No. Do I think we're going to have some movement? Yes. I think we will, because of all the sad and horrifying news that we've been seeing over the past couple days and even the past couple weeks. So that's what we know. As always, as I know more, I promise, I'll come back on and share all latest news and updates. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.